Now, in this lecture, we'll be discussing about the difference in all major components of Selenium. We know that there are four components. One is IDE, one is RC, one is WebDriver, and one is Grid, right? Now, what are these components and what is the difference? Let's start with the very first component, that is Selenium IDE, right? Like every automation tool that has, every automation tool has got some record and play functionality. Like even QTP, the record and play functionality is very huge. Same way, in case of Selenium IDE, it's actually a record and play plugin. Record and play plugin, other than this is a plugin or extension to Firefox. Initially started with Firefox, but in latest version you will see Selenium IDE is available on Chrome as an extension as well, right? But it is widely used for record and play only, right? Widely as in it's not like it is practically used in the project. It is only used for record and play, right? So companies are not at all working on Selenium IDE. This is because there are so many drawbacks associated when you work on Selenium IDE. And in fact, if we talk about the latest release of Selenium IDE, there are no much. I mean, if I show it to you how Selenium IDE looks like, so we simply need to go to Selenium HQ. You'll not find much things included in Selenium IDE, and here you need to search for Selenium IDE. See, it's a Chrome Firefox plugin which record and playback user interaction with browsers. That's it. So you can download the latest version from here. For Chrome, this is available as an extension. See, I have already added. You simply need to click on install and it will gonna be added to your Chrome browser itself as an extension. Same way for Firefox. Firefox, you can search for, just give me a moment. Again, go to seleniumhq.org. Okay, there's a spelling mistake. And from here, download and go to IDE for Firefox. So this is available as an add-on. So click on Add to Firefox, Add, and you'll see Selenium IDE added over here. This is your Selenium IDE. So this is how it looks like for Firefox. Same thing is for Chrome as well. You need to click on record a new test in a new project. Give a project name Selenium testing. Click on OK. Base URL, let's say http google.com. Click on start recording. You'll see that Selenium IDE is launched, started recording. If I type like Selenium over here, click on Google search, click on this. So what all actions that we have performed so far? If you go back to Selenium IDE, you will see that all the actions are being recorded over here. So I'll stop the test from here, give the test name as Google test. And click on OK. So if you look over here, these are the steps which are recorded. So opening the browser, resizing the window, typing in some element Selenium, then click, do a mouse over and then click, right? Now in previous version of Selenium IDE, we can actually export this test as well, right? Export this test and we get some scripts out of it, right? Over here, you're not gonna see any more option of exporting the test, right? So it's showing running, then add breakpoints, add pause, but I'm not seeing any option for exporting the test, right? Exporting in the sense, if you export a test, you'll get a pre-written script and you can do modification in that script. But here, if you just click on run all test, you're gonna see what all actions that you have performed will be executed again. And at times you need to put a pause or delay. See, the last action was not successful, so this action was not successful, right? Same thing if you want to do it on Chrome, same stuff. There's a plugin on Chrome as well. Click on this. Again, same steps. Record a new test. Selenium testing. HTTP google.com. Start recording. Say Selenium. Click on Google search. Click on this and stop the recording. Name it as Google test. Click on OK and see all the steps are over here. This is the same thing that we did on Firefox. Now, if I click on run all test, you will see that all the tests will be repeated. And again, we got stuck over here. So we need to add a pause or we need to handle other things which are not very much feasible when we are working on Selenium IDE, right? Ultimately, what people do, like instead of using IDE, if I show you one more component that is called as Catalan Recorder. So Catalan Recorder is another extension to Chrome. You simply, I have also added this. Simply click on add and like install it. It will get installed as a plugin, and same way like we see this ID, you'll see Catalan Recorder. But this is little better as compared to like Selenium IDE. Although it does the same task for record and play. If I click on record, if I go to google.com, again type Selenium, click on Google search, see all the commands are being shown over here. And then if we click on this, see XPath and other things. If I go back and click on stop, you can see the entire scripts are being recorded like this. This was what we did. And if you want to click on export, you should be able to export the code out of it as well. This is the WebDriver code, WebDriver with testng. See, different languages are available. If you want to do it in Python, then the code for Python is also available, right? So whichever language that you want to use, ultimately what we do is when we are using this record and play, we copy this script and try to paste it in Eclipse over here like this. This is how we actually do manipulations in this script, right? But if we are working in Selenium, will not be dependent on record and play. This script, the script that you see over here, the code that you see over here is not at all complex. It's just that you need to understand basic core Java. And then these are very simple things, right? I'm going to explain you this thing in such a manner that you're not going to find it difficult at all. These are very simple stuff. So it will not be dependent on record and play. This is because when I was initially discussing that Selenium is used only 25% in your project. This is true because I mean, if I talk about let's say we are automating a website and like we want to enter the test data in the login window, username and password, right? Normally when we do manual testing as well, we maintain our test data somewhere, right? So majorly we use Excel sheets for maintaining the test data. So if I want the data while automating a website should be read from Excel, right? Reading and writing from Excel. Now this is not a task of Selenium. Selenium will not gonna help you by any chance in reading and writing through Excel. For this, you will be needing a separate project, a separate API called as Apache POI API, which is another jar file. So Apache actually provides a Java project through which you can manipulate Microsoft documents like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and number of components are there. But again, it's a third-party open source project. It has nothing to do with Selenium. But we will integrate this with our Selenium code so that we can do Excel reading and writing. Same way, like we added Selenium jar over here. We need to right click in our project, go to build path, add external archives, and let's say POI. There are some jars for POI. This is one of them. You need to add it like this. And now you can call the classes which are available inside this POI jar file, and you can like do manipulations in Excel, do reading, writing through the coding part as well. Right? So this is not a task of Selenium. Same way, if you want to do something like generate logs, let's say I've created a test suite which takes somewhere around 4 hours in execution, right? The complete end-to-end automation is running and it takes at least 4 hours to finish the execution. So for that 4 hours, I'll not be sitting in front of my machine and will be watching the entire automation. How is it? How it is clicking? How it is typing? Right? I'm not gonna watch those things. I need something that should maintain the logs for each and every click or each and every action that is performed on the web page, right? And that too with current timestamp, right? So that whenever there is a failure or whenever there is something like some action not happened, or if I want a proof of the execution, I can get it from that log file. So log file, again, generating logs is not a task of Selenium. So you need to be dependent on another jar file called as log4j. So this is another jar file. This is an API, log4j API, right? So the way we included POI, same way you will be including the log4j jar file. At times you may need to do some database testing. Database testing in the sense what all data that you see on the website is the same data that is showing up in the database as well. Database could be SQL, MySQL, Oracle. So in order to do that, you need to perform a JDBC connection. And Selenium will not going to help you in that. So SQL, MySQL, Oracle, all these vendors, they provide their jar files, their APIs. So you need to right click on your project, go to build path, add external library, and add the MySQL connector from here. So MySQL is here. Same way if you have a SQL server, Oracle, big data, anything, all the APIs, Java APIs are available, right? Same way, like after the test is executed, you want to send out automated emails, right? How are you going to do that? You'll be using something called as Java Mail API. So there is another API, another jar file for it, right? Even when I'm saying that we will be sending out the test results. So test results as in how many test cases are passed or how many test cases are failed. If you look over here, is it showing us how many test cases passed or how many failed? We just executed this task, right? Maybe there is one test case in it. Verify user is able to navigate to waytoautomation.com. So is it showing that out of one pass or one failed? Selenium has nothing to do with your test cases. Selenium will not going to tell that out of 100 test cases, 20 are failed and 80 are passed. Right? Selenium will not going to convert the existing code into test cases. In order to do that, you will be using something called as the Java frameworks, which are JUnit and TestNG. So that is why these Java frameworks are being used, so that they can convert the existing code into test cases. And these are nothing, these are jar files only. So if you right click on your project, go to build path, add libraries, TestNG, next, finish, you will see that TestNG jars are added over here, right? These are jar files. These are internal Java projects, and Selenium has nothing to do with this jar file. But now this jar will provide you some functionality which will convert your existing code into test cases, right? So that is what TestNG and JUnit is used for. And then after that, if I talk about, like we talked about some build tools, Maven is very widely used. Majorly companies are using Maven. Ant is quite old, right? There are very few companies working on Ant. And Gradle is an enhanced version of Maven. So some companies are working on Gradle as well. But in the course, we'll be majorly focusing on Maven. Right now, what build tools are for? Now, let's say I have created an automated automation suite, and I want that the suite should run once in a day automatically, or let's say after every 1 hour, or after every 4 hours. So, if I say that it should run after a particular interval of time, I'll not go to Eclipse and click on run button and execute it. There should be something which should compile the entire code, build it and run it. So that is what Maven is. So something like if I show you an example, this is how Maven actually works. I just double click on one of the file and it's compiling the code. See, I'm not using Eclipse. It is running test suite and done. That's it. Or I'll show you one Selenium test as well. So see, compiling 11 source files, running test suite, launching Chrome browser. We're going to execute the automation, read the data from Excel, connected SQL, and then done. That's it. So see, I have not done anything on Eclipse. This is what the task of build tool is. And Selenium has nothing to do with the build tool. Right? Build tool is only compiling and running the code that you have written. And then comes Jenkins, continuous integration. Now, what is continuous integration? Before that, I'll show you how Jenkins it looks like. So Jenkins, what I'll do is, give me a moment. Yeah, I'll start the Jenkins services. Don't worry about it. We are going to cover these things in depth in our course. Jenkins, Maven, all these things will be covered in depth. But before that, you should be familiar with what exactly Jenkins is and how Jenkins works, why we will be using Jenkins in our automation process, right? So at times it happens, let's say Jenkins, I said it supports continuous integration. Now what is continuous integration? Let's say a developer is sitting in US, a tester is sitting in India, right? A developer, he deploys a build in which there is some functionality. He checks in the code as in onto some centralized repository, could be SVN, could be GitHub. I believe you guys have heard about what SVN is or what GitHub is. If not, then we'll be covering these things in our course as well. So SVN, GitHub, these are some source code management tool where we check in and check out our code, right? So once a build is deployed, a tester in India takes a checkout of that build and performs testing on that build. So as an automation tester, what I did when I received the build, I have created a BVT test, like a build verification test. Some smoke test cases are there, like high level test cases. I want whenever a build comes, I just want to execute those test cases, right? So executing those test cases will tell me that whether the build is stable or not, because it will gonna hit all the major areas of the application and will check the stability of the build. If the build is not stable, like I'm gonna send the email, I mean, the code itself will automatically gonna send out email to the developer that the build is not stable with the help of Java Mail API, right? So I need not to worry about writing an email and sending it to developer. It will automatically send it, right? So whenever the build comes in, I just double click on this like this, and this performs all the testing on the new build. And if there is any issue, it sends out an email to developer that the build is not stable. So I am doing automation, but I'm running the builds manually, right? So whenever there is a new build, I just double click on it. Now, let's say developer, I said he is in US and tester is in India. So there is a time gap. As soon as developer deploys a build, it's a daytime for developer, but the night time for tester, because there's a time gap in India and US. So what a tester will gonna do next day when he comes to his work, he executes the build, he performs testing on it, and send back the result to the developer. Now what happens while sending the result, there were some failures. So he has sent all the failures in that build. So next day when developer comes in, he'll gonna fix all the issues and we're gonna redeploy the build. Again, the next day the testing will be performed. So it's like a continuous process, right? But there is a lot of time gap in that process. When developers deploys a build and when tester test it, there's a time gap of, let's say, 8 to 10 hours. Now what developer wants, as soon as he checks in the code, the testing should be done, right? Because the tester is not manually testing it, he's just executing the automation script. So that is where the Jenkins comes into the picture. Jenkins, how Jenkins actually looks like, it looks like a UI only, right? With a URL, you can access this URL from any part of the world. So now what Jenkins will gonna do, as soon as a build checks in, Jenkins will gonna read your repository like GitHub or Maven, or sorry, SVN. So whenever a developer checks in a code in that repository, Jenkins will read that and will give a call to your build tool. So as soon as there is a code checked in, Jenkins will give a call to Maven and Maven will execute your test. And once the test is finished, there's a Java mail API written in that. If a build is successful, it will send a message to developer that build is successfully executed. If are some failures, then it will generate some logs and will send it back to the developer, right? So that is what continuous integration is. Otherwise, Jenkins, you can use it by scheduling your build as well, by running your jobs as well. As in, this is a URL. Let's say if your client says that I want to see what all things you have automated, and client is like a non-technical person, he'll not be able to understand anything that you have written in the code. So you're gonna give this URL to the client. So once he opens this URL, he'll gonna find your project over here. You simply need to click on build and clicks over here. I'm going to show you what is happening in the build. Go to console output. See, executing Maven. Jenkins is giving a call to Maven. Now Maven is doing all the things. These are the same logs that were coming in the command prompt. See, running test suite. And now your browser will be launched. Launching Chrome. And now all the testing will be done. Right? And at the end, you're going to see 3 tests, 3 failed. These are intentional failure. This is because after a test is failed, you'll see a report is generated, archiving HTML. And if you go back to your project, now what I have done, I have integrated reports as well over here. If you click on this, you'll see all the reports. Not just these reports, if you click on this, along with the failure, you'll see a screenshot. If you click on this, a screenshot is open, a thumbnail, a link. Now the logs, right? These thumbnails, these links are not provided by this report. This is what we have created it. As in, you can customize the report as well. So how to generate a link? You need to write a small HTML. That link starts from anchor tag ahref equal to. Image starts from img tag imgsrc equal to. If you define the height and width of the image, it will show you as a thumbnail. Click on this, will launch the screenshot. Click on link, will launch the screenshot. And with all your test failures, you will see different screenshots captured. Right? So this should be the end result of your project. And not only this, you can add any interactive report. I mean, there are other reports as well available. If I show you one more reporting, this is like test ng report. How many fail, how many pass, what is the total time of execution of each test, the data being read from Excel, right? Not only this, there are many interactive reports available. I was talking about one of the extent report. If I show you that report, it looks something like this. This is more interactive. See, detailed explanation, clicking on Chrome, clicking on logging, entering username, password, right? So the frameworks that we have included in this course, the live projects that we have included, will actually gonna do all this stuff. Will generate an interactive report like this, which tester has executed, the organization, the build number, everything is mentioned over here, right? So this is one of the detailed report. So there are many interactive reports, many good things that you will gonna see in this course, in your live projects, right? So that is what your Jenkins is all about, right? And now if we talk about all these things, so apart from this, what all things that we have included in the course, will be working on many live projects. Live projects including data-driven, keyword-driven, hybrid, page object model, page factories, Cucumber VDD. So all these frameworks we will be designing in depth in this course, right? So this is going to be one of the biggest course in the industry to cover all these topics. And once you have successfully gone through all these topics, you can crack any interview for Selenium easily. You should be able to justify 3+ years of your experience in Selenium, right? You'll get so much confidence that you'll never feel like doing manual testing again, right? So that is what the level of things that we are going to cover in this course. And if we talk about ID, like we started with Selenium IDE itself, so if we are working on Selenium IDE or anything like a record and play, we cannot achieve these things using record and play, right? Record and play is a very basic component. We cannot achieve these things using record and play. That is the reason things in Selenium are achieved via coding part. So that is the only reason IDE is just a record and play plugin. It is not at all used in the market, right? So that is all about what all these components are. And in the next lecture, we'll be discussing more about what RC is, what WebDriver is, and what Grid is. All right. Thank you.